Hello and welcome to the FNS50217 Diploma of Accounting Pathway Student Information Session. With me today, I have Chief Academic Officer Iona McKinney. Iona, welcome.
Hi James, great to be here, especially talking about the Diploma of Accounting Pathway. It's one of those career options for people that is really taking off at the moment.
Yeah, look. The uptake that we're getting for this particular course is fantastic, and there's, I think, a number of reasons why. I mean, it's not just the career prospects and the application of skills and competencies that you develop in this course, but it's the means by which you can go about jumping right into it. So, let's have a look first and foremost at a background about the course and the skill sets and the qualifications that it goes about delivering. And over to you.
Yes, certainly. So the Diploma of Accounting Pathway is comprised of the accounting principles skill set and the Diploma of Accounting. So the course is completed in a sequence, so students will complete the accounting principles skill set before entering the Diploma of Accounting. It's delivered online with a virtual classroom option over 18 months. The course itself is a really great broad-based course that focuses on management accounting rather than financial accounting. So it's all about those great things that we do day to day in a business. So creating budgets, preparing for our annual financial audit, preparation of tax documentation for individuals as well as for an organisation. Um, excuse me, please. All of those things that we look at from a management accounting perspective. So operational budgets, creditor management, debtor management, um, and also we do look at working in the accounting and bookkeeping industry. So both industries as an accountant as well as a bookkeeper. So as I said, the course is a really broad course which introduces us to all of those things that we do in the role of a management accountant or an assistant accountant, if you like, even in a practice, where we'd be undertaking all of those accounting tasks that relate to these things. The course also takes a deep dive into providing business and financial performance information, so how we use data dashboards with our accounting software. And of course, for some units in the course, students will be using MyOb software to complete their assessment tasks as well.
Okay, great. Now, excuse me. Now, we made brief mention early on of the entry requirements for this particular course. Now, the Diploma of the Accounting Pathway, which includes the skill set, which of course is delivered sequentially, is quite unique in the opportunity that it provides those who are looking at perhaps taking on the Diploma of Accounting. Now, with that in mind, let's have a bit of a look at the entry requirements and perhaps compare them to what would be, say, an alternative way in which to gain entry into the Diploma of Accounting, say, by completing the FNS50217 Certificate for an Accounting and Bookkeeping first.
So, students, there are two ways that students can enter the Diploma of Accounting or meet the entry requirements. I apologise. So, students can complete the full Certificate for in Accounting and Bookkeeping, or they can complete the Accounting Principles skill set. So, rather than completing a number of electives in the Certificate for in Accounting and Bookkeeping, students can really focus, if you like, on management accounting, and so they're able to complete the accounting principles skill set. Of course, there are the other admission requirements that we have here at Mentor Education. We really do recommend that students that enter this course or apply for entry to this course are over 18 at the time they begin the course. They really need a grasp of computer and technical skills because they will need to be for example, installing their MyOb software to complete some of their units, but they'll also be using Excel and Microsoft Word quite a bit throughout the course. They will need Microsoft Word or, as it says here on the screen, a freeware or open source equivalent. We do suggest OpenOffice or LibreOffice, so students are able to save their documents and their spreadsheets to the equivalent file type, if you like, of Microsoft Office. A high quality internet connection, a good internet connection is integral to attending virtual tutorials and study sessions, and also webinars and so on and so forth. And of course, adequate literacy and numeracy skills. Accounting does contain math, and those numeracy skills are paramount to being able to complete the course.
Now, you made mention of the idea of management accounting. And I think as we go through the delivery and the course units themselves, that will actually sort of start to come to life. But I suppose just kind of paraphrasing or summarising sort of what you said earlier, perhaps rather than students having to complete the full FNS40217 certificate for an accounting and bookkeeping, and developing, like say, I think a whole range of bookkeeping skills, if their interest or goals are more aligned perhaps with accounting and management accounting, then this particular pathway, by doing the skill set first, might be a more effective means by which to get there.
That's very true. So in the accounting principles skill set, students will basically undertake a range of tasks that you would in an accounting and bookkeeping role in industry. Now, regardless of whether a person is wanting to study this course because they're wanting to, for example, start their own bookkeeping consultancy or bookkeeping service, whether they're wanting to complete the pathway course for entry into the Advanced Diploma of Accounting, and further on into an undergraduate pathway for accounting or commerce. The accounting principles skill set provides a great grounding for all students in the tasks that we would undertake in a management accounting role. So we look at preparing those financial reports that I mentioned before, processing financial transactions and interim reports, chart of accounts management in administering subsidiary accounts and ledgers, and which is of course a core task of any accountant or bookkeeper is managing a chart of accounts. Our working effectively unit in accounting and bookkeeping, which is about the accounting and bookkeeping industry, what we do at different tiers, CP, continuous professional development and lifelong learning. There's a whole range of things we look at. We also look at, as I mentioned before, MyOb software is provided for accounting units in this course. So we look at setting up and operating a computerized accounting system, completing our BAS and our installment activity statements, and managing payroll, and actually undertaking maintaining a payroll system. So we look at those things in the accounting principles skill set. When students move on to the Diploma of Accounting, you'll be creating business reports, creating tax documentation for individuals, developing those budgets and undertaking forecasting for a business, preparing financial reports for corporate entities, looking at internal control procedures. So in other words, finance procedures and the Financial Management Information System, or the FMIS as it's referred to. Working with spreadsheets and developing our skills with spreadsheets. There are still if we're working in a practice environment, there are still a number of practices that rely on spreadsheets and spreadsheet tasks, so we look at that. And preparing operational budgets, of course, because when we're working in a management accounting role, we're often creating not just budgets for an overall business, but we're also creating specific business unit or departmental budgets. We're also managing project budgets. So there's a number of things that we look at in operational budgeting. I will say here that we also have available the payroll administrator skill set, as well as the elective units that we see here for Diploma of Accounting. So for students that want to complete a Diploma of Accounting but they want to focus on payroll, there is another option, and I really encourage anybody that's attending today or watching, if they're very interested in looking at payroll and payroll administration as part of a Diploma of Accounting, that they contact us to have that discussion as well.
Excellent, great. And I think what's really nice here, especially the way the course has been designed, is that there'll also be perhaps a number of units which you cover in the accounting principles skill set, which you actually get exemption for as part of the Diploma of Accounting. So there's really no concern about perhaps doubling up or anything like that. So the way that it links in and it's been designed for that sequential delivery is really, really valuable, particularly for those who are looking at sort of diving straight into that management accounting field or accounting field by way of the Diploma of Accounting. Bit of background, I suppose, just on the industry as a whole. Certainly a lot of demand for those with accounting skill sets, knowledge and competencies in that area. And the application, I mean, we've talked a lot about management accounting today, but there's a whole variety of different occupations that this could apply to, from as we can see here, so finance manager, management accounting, which we've talked about, auditing, investment analysis, even forensic accountant. And that's something that we're seeing come up more and more, particularly with a big emphasis, particularly in industry at the moment, on compliance, auditing, governance and structuring and things like that. And the accounting functions that come into play when accounting for the things that I just mentioned are absolutely critical. And I think that's very much reflected in the sort of job growth that we're seeing at 8.6, which is almost 10%, which is really, really high when you look at a number of different occupations that are available, and of course with a very, very reasonable average salary there as well. Now, with the learning materials that we've, the units that we've discussed, they're obviously brought to life through the learning materials. So talk to us what that might look like, Iona.
So there's a broad range of learning materials that students will access in this course. So there are textbooks or workbooks and activity booklets for students to access not just their learning and their knowledge for each unit, but also for self-directed learning activities. Students will, throughout the course, depending on the unit that they're studying, will be using MyOb software for a number of self-directed learning activities, but also for some of their main assessment activities as well. Students will undertake self-directed research. There's some sample policies. There's also templates provided for students to access to see how documents really do look in an accounting role, and these are populated with examples to give students a bit more of a guide on how you would apply that documentation. There is also the virtual tutorial classroom option, which is available for students, where they have access twice a week to an educator for the course. Educators will work with them, provide information about topics that they're studying, but also for study skills support and assessment writing support as well. So those additional sessions are available to students who uptake the tutorial option. The other thing that is also available within those tutorial options is the opportunity to discuss things about the course with other students that are studying the course. And in a number of units, there's also video that's made available. So the learning materials are actually quite extensive, and all of the learning materials are included in the course. So there is nothing additional that students need to purchase to be able to complete the course. I mentioned before the payroll administrator option. If anybody attending today is very interested in looking at the payroll administration electives instead of the management accounting electives, and for students that uptake that option, they're able to access a payroll in a simulated payroll. So similar to using MyOb, they're going to actually be working with the payroll hands-on as well. So as I mentioned, the learning materials are quite extensive, and it's all included in the course.
Excellent. Now, very much an extension of I suppose, the learning materials and experience as a whole is the assessment function, which I think in many respects is an opportunity to put into play what it is that you've been taking on board by working through the learning materials themselves. And of course, the MyOb software that you get exposure to and things like that. So really what it is that you've been practicing throughout the course, you have an opportunity to demonstrate by way of the assessment. Now talk to us, I know, a little bit about what sort of assessment functions students will be exposed to throughout the course, and what sort of support and I suppose the ethos behind the way we deliver them here at Mentor.
So here at Mentor, we consider assessment to be an opportunity for our students to take what they've been learning and then and transpose that into a number of tasks that relate to what they've been studying. So an assessment might, for example, include some short answer questions and some project tasks, such as to create a budget or to create a policy or a procedure for accounting, or create a BAS statement and complete calculation sheets. There's a number of scenario tasks as well in some units where students actually take what they've been learning and practicing, and then they complete that task as a scenario task to respond to it. There are case studies. In a couple of the units, there are some multiple choice questions which are really just a check your knowledge quiz that students will complete during their study through the topic for each unit. There's also project tasks such as creating flowcharts or creating a set of reports, if you like. So there's a whole range of different accounting related tasks that make up the assessment tasks for this course.
Now, what I thought I'd do, I know, just briefly talk about the online learning experience. So we made mention earlier on that probably one of the key requirements to, I suppose, take advantage of the online learning experience is a strong and reliable internet connection. But what are some of the other things that you're going to need? Well, the first thing, access to a laptop or desktop computer. And then on that laptop or desktop computer, you're going to want to have a browser. So it might be Chrome, Firefox, Mac equivalent, whatever it is that you choose to use. And then through that browser, you'll be able to jump onto the online learning management system by way of the student portal and access anything and everything that you need to complete the course. And what's great about the learning management system is everything's in one place for you, and then everything's included as well. So links to videos that you made mention of earlier on, learning materials, any outside resources, whatever it is, you'll find anything and everything that you need inside that learning portal. And then, of course, the other great thing about it being accessible by way of a browser is that in some cases, certainly when it comes to the learning materials and readings and stuff like that, you may choose to access it through a smart device. So that could be your phone or a tablet, and perhaps do some reading in bed or in transit on the train or whatever kind of works for you. So there's that real flexibility. And then the other thing I think which is really important to make mention of, particularly with online learning today, is that we find quite a number of our students are already working. So they might be doing it for the purposes of professional development to upskill, perhaps in the industry that they're already in, or they might be looking to move industries. And they need essentially education to fit in with anything and everything that's going on in their life. So as I made mention, it might be that you're working full time, or you're running a family full time, or you're doing all of the above and kind of squeezing learning in whenever and however you can. So what I suppose, really what I'm trying to say is that you can access the learning management system 24 hours a day. So you can make it kind of, you might do that first thing in the morning before work or late at night, sort of after everybody's gone to bed or whatever. So the online learning experience, really in summary, strong and reliable internet connection, access to a laptop and desktop computer, and of course a browser on that computer. The other thing about the online learning experience, which we also made mention of earlier on, is the virtual classroom-based tutorials, which is an online environment where you get to interact in real time with your assessor and trainer, and then essentially work through unit by unit the course material, and in some cases even an opportunity to do a bit of a deep dive into what some of the assessment requirements are. Now, not only is this a great chance, of course, to get a really kind of deeper understanding of the course material, but also interact not just with your lecturer, but also your classmates in the fellow cohort as well. So you get that real kind of sense of connectivity which isn't always available, through online learning. And certainly, I think another benefit of that is that sense of accountability as well, knowing that sort of each and every week there can be a number of classes and online virtual tutorials for you to turn up to that are happening live, at a predetermined time. So it might be that in some cases you align your study load and the means by which you get through sort of all of the units with the tutorials and things like that. But that's it. That said, in the event that perhaps you can't attend a live tutorial for one reason or another, don't despair. They're all recorded, and of course you do get access to all of those recordings as well. So the online learning experience certainly these days has come a long way to what it was in the past, and I think is really immersive and a great way to do it. Now, really from the very beginning, students are afforded a whole range of support. At the very start, it really starts with the education advice team, who will work with you to identify perhaps what it is that you're currently doing, where it is that you'd like to go, what it is that your goals are, and then using that information, come up with what's going to be the most appropriate educational solution, series of courses or skill sets that's going to get you there. And in this case, it may very well be the Diploma of Accounting Pathway. Now, of course, they'll sort of manage that whole process for you and go through a series of consultations to make that happen. Then following that, once enrolled and once a student mentor, you've got direct linkage to the team of student support officers who are there to help you with just about anything and everything, from onboarding to the learning management system to assisting you set up any software, perhaps Maya on your computer, booking appointments with the trainers and assessors, even linking you into student support services that you may find that you need. And then finally, and arguably probably the most important pillar of support that you get exposure to, of course, when studying, is the education, training and assessment team. Now, Iona, as our Chief Academic Officer, you're probably the best one to give some insight in the sort of support that's afforded to students through the education function.
So, in addition to students being able to access the educator, trainer, or tutor for their particular course via phone or via email or in virtual tutorials, we also make a number of other support options available for students as well. So students are able to call in between 9 and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday and ask to be put through to an educator for their course. They're also able, as I mentioned before, to send email. But there's a number of other supports. So students that really feel that they need some additional support are able to also make a booking with a trainer. For the trainer to spend time with the student in a one-on-one environment and to support them with their studies and their needs. We always encourage our students to shout out to us. We understand that sometimes when we start studying, or sometimes we're studying a new topic that we've never come across before, we can get stuck or we can feel lost. Or everything can just start to feel overwhelming. So we really encourage our students to reach out to us and let us know what their particular challenge is, and take up any one of those options. All of those support options are always available, and we're always here to support our students. There's a number of other supports that we make available in the form of course extensions for students that are unable to complete for a good reason, resubmissions or remarking for additional time or for tasks that students haven't been able to complete in the way that the assessment requires. So there's no additional charge for remarking for course extensions or resubmissions or remarking. And there's also no additional charge for those additional one-on-one student support sessions as well.
Excellent. Now, I've put together a series of questions we often get asked by students. And the first one is, can I get government funding? And the short answer to that is no. So all of our courses are self-funded by students themselves, or in some cases, their employers. But that said, which kind of leads us on to our second question, is we do have payment plans and options available. So if accessing perhaps the enrolment free upfront at the beginning isn't necessarily a viable option for you, then get in contact with the education advice team and they can perhaps talk to you about what payment plans and options are available. With respect to starting, you can start at just about any time. So what we say, look, is if you can get enrolment into us by 4 p.m, usually up and running by that night, of course, with the exception of weekends. Where if you send an enrolment into us, or perhaps on the weekend, we'll have you up and running first thing Monday morning. And also, one of the great things about the enrolment is it can be done all online through the dedicated Mentor Education Enrolment Portal, which makes it really easy and accessible. Everything's included, as we made mention of earlier on. So anything and everything you need to complete the course, from learning resources and materials to the assessments, software, whatever it may be, anything and everything's included. Yes, we do have a couple of different study options. So we've got self-directed for those perhaps who don't want to access the live classroom-based virtual tutorials. So completely self-directed without access to those. But by default, we usually recommend that students take advantage of the live classroom environment when they can. Yes, the skill set and course is nationally recognised in all states and territories around Australia. Now, the way that this particular Diploma of Accounting Pathway is set up, there are no prerequisites, as we explored a little bit earlier on. But again, if you've got any questions about these kind of things, one of the best things to do, of course, is speak with the education advice team. And with respect to how long do people usually take to finish, 18 months is the time frame that you want to have in your mind. Now, it might be that you could perhaps dedicate a little bit more time in each and every day, each and every week than perhaps somebody else in the course and finish it a little bit sooner. Or it might be that you, for one reason or another, you need to suspend your course, as we made mention earlier on, so it may take a little bit longer. So 18 months is really the time frame that you want to put there in mind. Bit of background on us. We've been delivering online education since 2003 in the financial services, business, project management and accounting space. And in this time, it's probably fair to say, Anna, that we've got a pretty good handle on when it comes to delivering online education. It's something that we're all very, very passionate about. And I think not just the delivery, I think, of the education, but what our students get out of it. And I'll probably, at this point, it's a good time to hand on over to you to talk to us about the student outcomes that we've been getting.
So each year, the National Centre for Vocational Education Research undertake a national survey of students undertaking vocational education and training, or VET as we call it. So these are our student outcomes for this last year, and we are eagerly anticipating the outcomes report for this year as well. But in the year 2020, this is what our students had to say about us. So 92% of our graduates were employed or enrolled in further study after training. 86.5% of our students would recommend us as a training provider. 90.2% of our students were satisfied with assessment, and 91.6% of our students were satisfied with the overall quality of training. I think what our students say about us really does exemplify our commitment to our students, and it also exemplifies and highlights those additional support opportunities that we make available to our students, and the importance of, as a student, and us encouraging our students to reach out. Reach out to our student support team, reach out to your education advisor, reach out to those of us who are the educators and trainers and tutors in the courses, and we will support you to achieve your aspirations as far as your course is concerned, and you may go on to be part of one of the 92% of graduates that are employed or that go on to enrol in further study after they complete their training.
Yeah, and I think that's probably also a really good point as well, is that, we're finding now with, I think, education and this idea of lifelong learning, that there are so many different steps that you can continue on to. I mean, advanced diploma of accounting, or even sort of, postgraduates or, degree programs and things like that. And of course, if you've got any questions about that, get in contact with the education advice team, and they can go through and perhaps even put together a whole map of what an academic journey or educational journey might look like over the next kind of 12, 24, 36 months, or however long it takes. So those options are always there, and always worth considering. Now, Finally, if you haven't been diligently taking notes, which I don't expect everybody was, and you'd like more information or access to anything and everything that we've talked about today, head on over to the webpage. And so mentor.edu.au, and there you'll be able to download the course guide for the FNS50217 Diploma of Accounting Pathway, and get access to, as I said, everything that we've talked about today, plus some more detailed information on each of the units that are included as part of the pathway course. Otherwise, get in contact with the education advice team directly. So you can email them, courseconsultant@mentor.edu.au, request a course brochure, just open up, ask any questions, whatever it may be. They're there to help, or give them a call on 1300 306 146. They're, of course, available between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. I'm all based here in Melbourne. And the other option is, if none of those ones that I've described work for you, go to the web page and there's a live instant messaging chat function. And you can actually chat in live real time with the education advice team as well. Again, same time frame, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. And of course, for those who've got your smart devices and phones handy, we're all pretty used to scanning QR codes by now. Feel free to do so up on the screen, and that'll take you directly to the Diploma of Accounting Pathway course page. Iona, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, James. It's been great being here talking about the Diploma of Accounting Pathway.
Excellent. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We certainly look forward to seeing you as students very soon. As always, take an opportunity to excite your potential, and we'll see you next time.